IPMNation.com.
1.
All natural being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Welcome to All Natural Being. I'm Brian Brawdy, here with you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern, if you're listening live. Of course, as you probably know by now, if you've been hanging out with me, I think this is episode 73 of All Natural Being. We do the rebroadcast at 11 a.m. Eastern, and then again at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on IPM Nation. So, I want to thank you for hanging out, for giving me the opportunity to kind of tag team with you for an hour, couple of kindreds, hanging out, trying to figure out this crazy thing called life. And before we get started this morning, also let me say, don't forget 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. You can send me a text. If we're connected on Facebook or Twitter, you can do that as well. They come right here to me. But before we get into any of that this morning, I got up early and was writing the show, and I don't know how you do a show today in light of everything that went on in Nice, France yesterday. If you didn't get a chance to see the news, they're saying this morning that more than 100 people were killed, were murdered. You know, it's always fun to say, oh, wasn't it? It's such a tragedy. No, it's just murder. A tragedy is the tornado. But when you have this type of a rampage, how else can you focus on some things? So I think for kicking off this morning's show, I've got a little bit of experience in dealing with psychopaths. I have a little bit of experience. I mean, right? We started out as a cop and then doing everything I could over the last 30 years to find out what happens to a human mind to become so violent that it could take its own life or the life of another. I've been doing this a long time now. So that when I say that terrorists are cowards, I'm not trying to jump on any bandwagon. I'm not trying to suggest that, some type of bravado or make it some trite little cliche that terrorists are cowards. But they literally are terrified. It's the mark of any true psychopath. They're terrified. And because they're so afraid, they act out in ways like yesterday that are just horrific, brutally horrific to the victims and their families and their extended families. So terrorists are cowards. They're psychopaths. And for the longest time, everyone says, oh, ego. What's the ego? And for me, I'm a huge fan here of acronyms when we talk about self-help industry tactics. But for me, the ego has always meant estrangement gone overboard. You're familiar with the term when someone goes overboard. Well, all ego is an estrangement gone overboard. They're estranged from our all-natural being. And as that estrangement, as that pull moves further and further away, you become a psychopath. There's no connection to anyone else around you. It's all about you. So this morning, as I think of the people that were killed, the people that are in the hospitals, the people that were murdered, the people that are in hospitals recovering, the families, some there, some rushing to get there, you want to do something. You want to think, what can I add to the conversation? What can we do to in a crazy world, to try to do something to amend, to change the future. because this isn't going to go away as long as we continue to be estranged from who we truly are. That estrangement will increase in the minds of certain individuals all the way up on the scale of psychopath. They have a depraved indifference to human life. So what can you and I do? And I know it sounds terribly passive. It sounds terribly weak. If you're like me, you'd like to go, give me 5 minutes with one of these terrorists in a room. But what can you and I really do? And I don't know anymore if we win the war on terrorism in this generation. But what we can do is start with this day, today, to always remind people that we are all connected. Again, the John Donne poem, no man is an island, no woman is an island, entire unto themselves. And maybe if we start to do that now, if we work with children, if we work with young people, and let them know that the ego was intended, like our training wheels or our water wings, to get us to a particular point in life where our soul could take back over, run the show. So as human beings are born, there needs to be a modicum, a little bit, a sprinkle of estrangement just for the mind to form. But there comes a time where that ego has to be surrendered. That estrangement has to be forfeited to go back into the field, into the underlying connection, either scientifically, the Higgs field, or spiritually, religiously, if you believe in the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, Higgs field. That ego has to be surrendered. That's the truth. Well, what happens when the ego doesn't want to be surrendered? What happens when that ego says, I like being in charge. I like being a puppet government. I think I'm going to, I threw a little coup. I got a coup going on here, so I'm going to stick with it. So in these psychopaths, the ego, the estrangement gone overboard, has gone way overboard, where this life means nothing. The lives of other people mean nothing. So what can you and I do in our own little way, in our own minds, in our own families, in our own homes, in our own communities, is to do what we can to reduce that estrangement. To recognize, outside of all the screaming and hollering and finger pointing, outside of all religious debate, political debate, good golly, wait to see the mashugana between now and the fall that the presidential election is ramping up. What you and I can do is remember that beneath it all is our all-natural being, where we're all connected. Maybe if you and I start doing that and we lead by example, then we'll be that shining light for other people, the next generation, to look and go, yeah, it's not the truth. Estrangement gone overboard isn't the truth. The ego has a shelf life. It was supposed to get us to a certain point. Then you surrender your water wings. You surrender, right? Look at training wheels, help you keep balance. Look at water wings, help you keep afloat. A float from what? A float from the field. Balance on what? Balance in moving through the field. So your ego, your estrangement gone overboard. That's what you and I can start to do. So we see the division. Not a particular pigment whose lives matter. Ridiculousness. It's every life matters. Every life matters. And for these estranged egos gone overboard, that's what you and I can do. We can stand and do what we can to make sure that future generations don't ignore the underlying connection that is all of us. We don't develop a depraved indifference for human life where you can take a truck and drive it for a mile. Terrorists are cowards. They were dead long before they exacted their revenge. Long before they became the psychopath. Long before they woke up one day and realized there's a hole where their heart and their head should be. They were dead long before they exacted their revenge. So you and I, what do? We work right now today to make sure that, if nothing else, at least our kids, our grandkids, our nieces, our nephews, the children of our family and friends, that they have a future where they're not terrorized by these terrified psychopaths running around. That's what you and I can do. All right, I'm going to take a quick break.
IPMNation.com.
All right, this morning on All Natural Being, let's jump in with our anaerobic aphorism. The only mantra worth the trouble. You know, people are fired up about mantras. My favorite mantra, maybe I should have said one of only two mantras worth the trouble. My favorite mantra is thank you. That's it, thank you. I don't have to have a garland necklace. I don't have to torque my knees. I don't have to stiffen my back. I don't have to do all these other things to come up to some guru. I am not your guru. I don't know about you. You've never been my guru. I am not your guru. We don't need gurus. Be your own guru. Be thankful for who you are. So for me, number one mantra, thank you. Thanks for the run. Thanks for the gig. Thanks for dropping me here in the labyrinth. My second favorite mantra, and one, I promise you, if you use this in conjunction with your 22nd victory, it's going to change your day. It's going to change your week. It's going to change your life. And that mantra, very simply, is deep in my core, I am everything it takes to come out on top. Now, I had someone text me yesterday and go, you have a typo. I'm looking at it going, really? Again, I have the worst time with the English language. It's like, can I get anything right? So I looked at it and I go, all right, I'm reading it. The only mantra worth the trouble, Trouble. Okay, I think I got that, right? The Travis Tritt song, Trouble. I think I spelled that right. Deep, right? So that's how it goes. They said, no. Didn't you mean to say deep in my core, I have everything? And I looked at it and I go, no, in fact, I wrote it exactly the way I wanted to. Deep in my core, I am everything. It's not a bauble. It's not a trinket. It's not something that you were given. You don't have it like a possession. You are it. Deep in my core, I am everything it takes to come out on top. Maybe that's one that you can start with. If you don't like thank you, if it's a little too short, it's a part of your 22nd victory every day. Breathe in, exhale, scan horizon, check your 6, then take action. Action might be this mantra. Deep in my core, I am everything it takes. I don't need anything else. Deep in my core. The root of the root, as Rumi says, the root of my soul, deep in my core, my all-natural being. I am everything it takes to come out on top. Come out on top of what? Game of life. Life in the labyrinth. The consistencies and incongruities. The lapses, the lunges, the lefts, the rights, the ups, the downs, the pivots, the swerves. No blind alleys, no dead ends, only cul-de-sacs. Here in the labyrinth, I am everything it takes to come out on top. So today, maybe set your wake at the weekend coming up. It's Friday here in the States. And for those of you listening, my friends in Singapore, my friends in Australia, thank you for the texts. For those of you listening from all over, truly appreciate the opportunity to hang out with you for an hour. And to do this, to simply remind you that deep in your core, you are everything it takes to come out on top. Everything. Everything. Everything you've always needed, you've always had. It's in you. That's the gig. You were put here with all the power you need. Now, has it been watered down a bit? Has it been siphoned off some? Sure, why not? Does that make us horrible human beings? No. Because every chance is a second chance, is a next opportunity to funnel our natural resources into the life we know we deserve. And that's the true benefit for me. That's just the beauty in my mind, for me, to show you your hidden face. That's why I love getting up every morning early to write these shows. Because it's a good gig reminding you who you ultimately are. Pre-baggage. None of the crap. I keep saying that word. Sorry for all the people offended by the word crap. Beneath all your baggage. You're not born here to be a bellman. Little bellhop. Ding! Hey, can you take my bags to the 11th floor? No, carry your own baggage. You're not born to come here and carry someone else's baggage, listening to all your critics, walking, talking Venus flytraps, the pits of quicksand. No. All right, let's look at today's 3 segments. Oh, I like this one. Why so anxious about anxiety? Khalil Gibran's got a great quote. Our anxiety does not come from thinking about the future, but wanting to control it. So, if you believe Gibran, anxiety comes, we say, thy will be done. Oh, but no. I'd like to sugarcoat that will, right? We look at the future. You know, we live in a constant red flag warning, right? If you ever go to the beach, red flag, oh, careful, the waves are pretty big, they're crashing on the shore. What do we do under a red flag warning? We build sandcastles. Right? Oh, don't worry, this sandcastle will last forever. We try to predict the future. Now, if you've been listening to the show, thank you. If you're brand new to it, you should know. Big Bang, Big Breath, God, science, I don't care. You should. It's your business, not mine. Underneath all of the debate between science and religion, between heaven and the Higgs field, between everyone that's absolutely certain they're right. Absolutely certain they're right. No, my scientific belief is the truth, Brian. No, my religious belief is the truth, Brian. Well, until you and I admit that we really can't know. My fallback position is the ultimate fallback position. There's dirt in our DNA. We all come from a common background, and that is our all-natural being. So outside of the debate of science or religion, you can still say, thy will be done. Whatever the labyrinth holds, it holds. We're not going to build sand castles under red flag warnings. We leave our soul on speed dial. We don't become too estranged. Let the ego run the show. Let the estrangement gone overboard. Because that's all the ego is. And the ego says, oh, trust me, I can control the future. Well, don't think you can. Build your sandcastles all you want. Life in the labyrinth is a red flag warning. Now, you'll be sold. Oh, let me give you an I don't want to get into it now. Let me just say that's segment 1. All right? Then, when we come back to segment 2, a whole lot of shaming going on. I forget who that 50s song is. If you remember, don't forget, 331-684-7685. Give me a text. Whole lot of, I think it was shaking going on. So when I wrote this morning, a whole lot of shaming going on, I thought of Brene Brown. If you're reading, a great author, if you've read any of her stuff of late. She's got a great line, tagline, quote, aphorism, whatever you want to call it. She says, courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. I dig that. Because shaming, forgive the play on words, but shaming is a sham. And it's an absolute betrayal of your all-natural being. So ultimately, and this is what we'll get to in segment number 2, shame is just about your amnesia. You've forgotten who you ultimately are. How do I know that? Because if you feel a sense of shame about anything in your life, it's not the real you. It's not the real you. It's the ego. It's the estrangement gone overboard. But it's not the true you. It's not the all-natural you. It's not the root of you. And we'll look at that in segment number 2. Segment number 3, and I'm hoping we have time to get to it, so I'm going to pick it up. Moving along. Working on mindfulness. Maybe a better way to put it would be working it into our busy schedule. So my question for you, is you too busy to live? Got too much going on, are you? Is it too hectic to make sure you can dovetail your heart and your head? Schedule too full, too many carrots, too many sticks, too many horizons, too many goals, too many bucket lists? So the question we'll address in segment number 3, are you beating yourself up or building yourself up? We'll look at the barrenness of binge thinking. I saw this quote this morning. I think it was from who knows what it was. It's probably not a good idea to throw her under the bus anyways, but a famous singer. Nobody works harder than me. It's become this big thing now no one works harder. No one hustles more than I do. Well, it's not about working harder. It's about working smarter. Any dope can work harder. You want to work harder today? Go run 100 miles. You'll be working harder. Doesn't mean you work smarter. Oh, no one works harder than me in the music industry. Oh, really? Good to know. It's not about working harder. It's about working smarter. And we're going to look at that in segment number 3. And this cult that's come up around the concept of beating ourselves into the ground. There's one particular person that's always talking about the hustle, always talking about, pushing it. And just looked. You just look at his what used to be his smile. You see it. A lot of hustle. No I don't know for sure, no dovetailing of the heart of the head, but it sure looks like it's taking its toll. Never have time to relax, dovetail our heart and our head. Something to really think about. All right, we'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
All right, how much longer? The question we ask every day. And don't forget, it's not just them, it's you and me. How much longer are we going to let ourselves hijack our own head and our own heart? Because that's what the ego is. Just an attempt to hijack who it is its core. It likes being in charge. That's puppet government. Right? Yes? It likes being in charge. Doesn't want to give up control. Doesn't want to give up power. Term limits. Laughs at them. Doesn't want to have anything to do with them. And one of the ways that we can go ahead and wrestle back control is to take away its power. The ego's power comes when you're looking at a future. When you're building sandcastles under a red flag warning. Can there be a greater definition of anxiety and stress than building sandcastles under a red flag warning? You see the breakers, you see the ocean, you feel the wind. That's the time to build a sandcastle. Sure, why not? Or you have your soul on speed dial. Or you don't even need it on speed dial. You operate from a position of soul day in and day out. So I really started to look at this concept of anxiety. What is anxiety? And I think Gibran is right. You want to control the future. But you and I can't. All the insurance policies, all the annuities, all the things we got going on, we can't guarantee the future. Look how crazy the world is running around us. We can guarantee this moment. So when we stop and think, just for a second, when we ground ourselves in this moment, there's no anticipation. Whatever the labyrinth throws, whatever it is, the courage for just around the corner, we're going to adopt it. No anticipation. And if there's no anticipation, there can be no anxiety. Think about it. What is the one thing that you are most anxious, greatest sense of anxiety? If you kick it around, you look at it, poke it with a stick, you find out that it's a panic about something in the future. That it's an invasive species that you and I invite in. That's all anxiety is. Oh, now what if this happens, or what if that happens, or if I'm sure worst case scenario or best case scenario. It's still living outside of the moment. Because if you believe in today's mantra, deep in my core, I am everything it takes to come out on top. If you believe as I do in the pristine, and that you are an individual, a pocket pristine. You're an individual packet of that universal energy. Heaven or the Higgs field, your pick. But you are that individual packet. So at your core, you in fact are already everything it takes to come up on top. So what anxiety? Why do we invite in the invasive species of panic, of stress? Why do we do it? It's not natural. We do it because our estrangement gone overboard wants to taunt us out of this moment because it has no power over us in this moment. It only can exercise control over us by stresses of the past or anxieties about the future. Outside of that, we're not a puppet on the end of a string. We're not a dog on a leash. That's why it fights so hard. Oh, you better build a sandcastle. Don't worry, Brian's wrong. The waves will never crash on shore. Your sandcastle will stand forever. Oh, okay. So why are you and I so anxious? What's the big deal? When we live in this moment, when we ground ourselves in this moment, no anticipation, then no anxiety. Don't invite panic in. Take in that deep breath. Breathe in. Exhale. Scan your horizon. Maybe talk to yourself. Maybe the T in this particular version could be talk to yourself. What are you going to say? Deep in my core, I am everything it takes. Not 90%, 95. I am everything it takes to come out on top. Because that's what you were put here to do. Come up on top. You're not put here for life to smack you down. That's not why we're here. That's not what manifesting our destiny is all about. In our arm wrestling match, our battle with fate, we can come out on top. We don't have to fall for fate's shenanigans. We can come out on top. How do we do that? Remembering, I am everything it takes to come out on top. So in those moments of stress, breathe in, exhale, check it out, scan your horizon, see what your senses are throwing at you. Then talk to yourself. Very quickly, deep in my core, I am everything it takes to come out on top. Because you are. I am. We are. That's what makes us kindred. At the core of your all-natural being, you're untouchable. So in any emergency situation, we breathe in, we exhale, scan the horizon, talk to ourselves. Use that mantra. Doesn't take 20 seconds. Probably doesn't take 10 seconds. And if you and I do that, and we're reminded of who we are at our core, there's nothing left to do but come out on top. So no more sand castles under red flag warnings. Because why? One, it's stressful. Too stressful. Why wouldn't you use that energy? And I've often thought that anxiety is because we try to control what's going to happen in the labyrinth. That natural tension of having the courage for just around the corner. But it's a blind corner. We can't see what's coming, but we know we have the courage to confront it. Why? Because deep in our core, you and I are everything it takes. Everything it takes to come out on top, no matter what's around the corner. And when you practice that, just like building any other muscle, when you practice that, your fallback position of anxiety, of panic, of stress, it begins to fade away. So the next time we ask ourselves, why are we so anxious about anxiety? Because we're living a lie. The truth is, in this moment, you're untouchable. Anything else is a fairy tale. Moonshine, as we said yesterday. Mencken's quote, all else is moonshine. All right, we'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Because it's never too late to take your life back.
You know, it's never too late. We can start right now, you and me, when we talk about magnifying the moment. Saw a really cool article early this morning, which is funny because Let me just get this out, right? Because I won't be able. I can't. If I don't, like my mind, I just won't be able to focus straight. It's an article about the benefits of mindfulness, about paying attention. And when it comes up in the Google feed, it's the 10 scientifically proven benefits of mindfulness and meditation, written by an attorney. I'm sure she didn't do this. I'm hoping. And then when you click on, you come over to the article, it's gone from 10 to 6. So the clickbait 10, I guess, the top 10 list made famous by Letterman, Dave Letterman and his writers. But then when you click on it, it's only 6. I think there could be 600 scientifically proven benefits of mindfulness. But I just thought I'd mention that. So mindful, writing an article on mindfulness, putting it up. We can't be mindful that the title doesn't match the title, that the math is off a little bit, but that's it. Okay, now it's out of my system. Part of the articles that's talking about is that when you partake in mindfulness, it helps to reduce that anxiety. I'm thinking, well, that's a great tie-in for what we were just talking about. And I think they're absolutely right. Because mindfulness, bringing us into this moment, we realize there's nothing to be anxious about. If we don't have a decision as to about what the next moment should hold, then it can't be disrupted. Right? Yes? If we're not trying to get from A to B as the crow flies, there are no wrong turns. There are no detours. There are no blind alleys. Every turn is the right turn. Even if it's just a turn that reminds you that I should have taken the other turn. Doesn't make it the wrong turn. Was absolutely the right turn in context. So mindfulness, 20-second victory, the 20-minute victory. Mindfulness, being grounded in the truly unimaginable power of living in the present moment, in this sliver of all of time, reduces anxiety because anxiety can't live in the moment. It's time travel. It's a fairy tale. It's a horror story, whatever you want to call it. I saw the second one. I should mention it, just given the events going on of late. It talks about mindfulness meditation reduces bias, whether it's age bias, sex bias, race bias. Well, of course it does. Because when you connected to your all-natural being, all the bias, which a bias just means is picking A over B, all the biases dissolve. So that part of the article was kind of like, well, duh. When you're mindful, you don't see the boundary between you and the divine. And if you can't see the boundary between you and the divine, you can't see the boundary between anyone and the divine. Oh, wait a minute. You're part of the divine too? You're in this big swimming pool with me? Well, sure. Oh, wow. All right, welcome in. So mindfulness reminds us that we're all connected, that we're all linked together. Another reason that I'm a huge fan. I'm just remembering where you are. All right, another one of the articles. It increases body satisfaction. And this is actually what I wanted to talk about and leading into segment 2. So let's go ahead and kick off segment 2. Segment 2, whole lot of shaming going on. As I said before, Brene Brown, just a couple, 2 or 3, maybe she's written more and I just don't know them, but some fantastic books of late. And she says that courage starts, it begins with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. So what do we got to shame ourselves for? It's a sham. It's a betrayal of your all-natural being. Because when you're ashamed, it's just telltale of the fact that you have amnesia. Because if you remembered who you truly are, deep in your core, you are everything it takes to come out on top. Where's the foothold? Or if you've ever rock climbed, you're looking for finger holds or footholds. Where's the foothold for shame? There is no foothold for shame in your all-natural being. If you have amnesia, blind spots, well, blind spots, those are the footholds. Those are the toeholds. That's what shame uses to climb to get on top. But it's not you. It's the inauthentic you. So we've got all this shaming going on. Body shaming. Oh, I don't like the way I look. Don't like the way I present myself. Don't like the way I sounded on stage. All this shaming is just amnesia. Because we've forgotten who we ultimately are. We've forgotten, connected to the core, who we really are. The article over on Forbes talks about body dissatisfaction is a major source of suffering among women of all ages. And I would say probably guys. I don't want to, maybe it's their study. Let's say everybody has a sense. The researchers, a handful of doctors, women were assigned to either a meditation, intervention group, or a control group. Article goes on, quote, those in the intervention group received a 3-week self-compassion meditation training. Compared to the control group, the women in the intervention group experienced significantly greater reduction in body dissatisfaction. Experienced significantly greater reduction in body shame and contingent self-worth based on appearance, as well as greater gains in self-compassion and body appreciation. And according to the article, these effects, 3 months later, they still had these effects. So let's look at that for a moment. Let's talk about compassion. Let's talk about self-worth. Let's talk about the authentic appreciation. Well, of course. When you have mindfulness, when you remember who you ultimately are, when you remember your all-natural being, what is there to not be compassionate about? You're connected to your core, your soul on speed dial. Ring it up. Let it off the sidelines. We shame ourselves. We're not having compassion. True. But we're also lying to ourselves. What do we have to be dissatisfied with? And if you think, that person shamed me, again, takes a tag team, takes 2 to shame, 2 to tango, 2 to shame. You had to let it in. You and I don't have to let it in, but we do. Saw an article the other day, I was shamed because of my size. Tell them to go to hell. But then you got to look in the mirror and go, well, maybe I'm already in hell because I'm letting someone else's opinion, someone else's thought, someone else's chemical reaction in their brains completely derail my sense of self. Think about it. What's a thought? Agitation in a wave. 2 neurons getting all worked up, getting all excited. Barely anything at all, really. Just a little bit of energy, a little bit of chemical energy, exchanging, moving around. And we're going to let that in another mind, that little, almost minuscule thing, derail us. We're going to let it affect us. We're not going to have any compassion for ourselves. I've often wondered about the people that are all fired up about doing the shaming. Going, yeah, you're pretty busy, which we'll get to in the third segment. You're pretty busy slamming other people. Guess you've taken the day off from doing any introspection about yourself. So you got some free time on your hands. So, of course, who wouldn't? I'm not going to work on myself today. I'm going to go shame someone else. Think about it, my friends. They're already in hell. Meditation, mindfulness. It's just remembering who you already are. No more mystery, no more magic, no more hocus pocus. Nothing but remembering who you were before all the baggage, before all the conditioning. What are some of the ways you shame yourself currently? What are some of the things that we can tie in segment number 1. What are some of the things you're anxious about? What are some of the things you're shameful? Well, they made me feel that way. No. Hold the boat. Someone can't make us feel anyway unless we're a co-conspirator. There are no pins unless we open up ourselves to become a pin cushion. Oh, and we're still working. I was talking to Matt at IPM Nation. We're still working on the Brian Voodoo dolls. It's going to be great. If you don't treat yourself like a pin cushion, then the pins just kind of bounce off. What shame. An insignificant thought in another mind should never be able to derail who you are, but it takes practice. It's easy for me to go, oh, well, just turn it off. Don't listen to him. It takes practice. 1 20-second victory at a time. Need an ego shield. Need a bit of temporal terrain between that incoming sensation and it triggering you. It takes practice. Stuff isn't easy necessarily, but it's certainly simple. What do you have to be shamed about? What do you have to be embarrassed by? Oh, I couldn't get up on stage and speak. I couldn't turn on the camera. I would just be embarrassed. Why? Well, what if I say something stupid? Well, what does that mean? Well, people think I'm stupid. Well, what do you care if people think you're stupid? Remember, we've talked in the past. What if and so what? What's the worst case scenario? You get on stage. Do what I do. I say to myself, walking out on stage, can't spell Brian without the I in idiot. Right? Can't spell Brian without the N in nincompoop. All I can do is give it my best shot. All I can do is remember that deep in my core, I am everything it takes to come out on top. But I'm not building sandcastles under a red flag warning. I'm not doing that. And neither should you. And of course, the article goes on to say mindfulness improves cognition. I think just about everybody gets that now. Mindfulness helps reduce distractions, obviously. Allows us to concentrate. Then we just have to figure out what it is we want to concentrate on. But again, the other benefits, mindfulness and meditation is everywhere. But what happens is everyone gets scared by it because, oh, that's a foreign concept. It's exotic. I never learned it. Mindfulness is really just paying attention, being attracted to your authenticity in this instant in all of time. That's all it is. That's it in a nutshell. And all you have to do is practice. You go, oh, Brian, I'm too busy, which we'll get to in segment number 3. Too busy what? Beating yourself up or building yourself up? Too busy. If you can't squeeze in 1/72nd of your day, a 20-minute victory, if you can't squeeze that in, how about 1 20-second victory? And here's why I'm so confident. And this challenge should go out. If you're a motivational speaker, if you're a life coach, if you're any of these other things that we're talking about, you're welcome to challenge me. I'm that confident. 30 years of investigation. I'm that confident that if you take 20 seconds, breathe in, exhale, scan your horizon, then tap your energy, tap your core, where you are everything it takes to come out on top. You do that, you're going to come out at the end of that 20 seconds feeling better than you did before you went in. Anyone is welcome to challenge me. Send me an email. Call me. Oh, and you can call too, 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. Call me. Send me a text. Let me know what you're thinking. But if you and I build the habit of doing this every morning, maybe when we wake up, maybe before lunch, maybe just after dinner, breathe in, exhale, scan our horizon, take action. I'd like to tell you there's more to it than that, but that's it. The challenge, what makes it, although simple, not necessarily easy, is you have to commit to do it, like building any other muscle in your body. Just like a push-up, or a sit-up, or a pull-up. You build it, one exercise at a time. And they're scalable, as we say all the time. Scalable. You can stack them on each other if you like. So do it for 20 seconds. Then you might go, hey, how about 40? Great. How about a minute? Fantastic. But you're in charge. You're your own guru. I am not your guru. Well, good to know. You've never been mine. Yes, that's my little tweak. When we build it into a habit, practice it right now. Where could you squeeze in? Where could you right now squeeze in 20 seconds for yourself? 20 seconds. Maybe someone posts something on Facebook about you. Get a load of my life. Maybe someone posts something on Facebook or Twitter, or you're out somewhere. Oh, I'll tell you this quick little story. Yesterday, after the show, out on a bicycle ride, and I make a right-hand turn, and I make a right-hand turn from one road onto another road, and apparently, older woman makes the same turn. I could sense the car behind me, but like it wouldn't pass. And I've been riding a bicycle for a lot of years, 30, more than 30, really. And I do it pretty habitually, so I can ride a bicycle. I know how to control it in traffic. So I'm alongside of the road. I ride almost on top of the curb. Just enough room to make sure the right pedal can clear. So I know how to share the road. All of a sudden, car pulls up alongside me. Lady's got to be 90 years old. Maybe 85. No, 90. Maybe 89. Pulls up alongside of me. Rolls down the window. Gives me the finger. And shares a little, apparently, a couple of her favorite aphorisms. And she speeds away. So I'm always up for an impromptu interval. So I pick up my speed on the bike. Now I'm right behind her. Right behind her. She's got a speed limit. I'm on a bicycle. I can maintain that speed for 300, 400, 500 meters, somewhere around in there. She makes a left-hand turn. She starts to climb the hill. I make the left-hand turn. Pull up alongside. Just wave. And then I make a quick right, and I'm gone. So in that moment, when we talk about ego shield, we talk about temporal terrain, we talk about practicing, it would have been real easy for me to go off on her. But I wanted her to see that even with her mannerisms, her gestures, her aphorisms, her obvious superior acumen of how the human body is built, because, in fact, I have one of those, right? So good on you. Maybe she's a retired doctor. But I wanted her to know. Smile. We're all in this together. No reason to get worked up. And then when you have situations like that where people give you the finger, road rage, it's a great way to practice. Breathe in, exhale, scan your horizon. Then think. Then talk. Then take action. Then tap your natural resources. But now, kind of like a side story, which is really why I brought it up. So as I'm climbing this hill, probably a couple, 300 yards, I had forgotten to get out of the big chain ring. Now, on my bicycle, I have 3 chain rings, which a small, a middle chain ring, and a large. And my large is a 54. So when you're in the big chain ring, you're moving a lot of gears, and that just means it makes it harder to pedal, let's say. So I'm on the big chain ring on the flat. When she makes the turn, and I make the turn because I want to be able to wave and let her know, I'm a fan of hers, even if currently she's not a fan of mine. I'm still a fan of hers. Well, we start climbing this hill, and I feel my heart pick up a little bit. I can feel it in my legs. So when we're done, I go, all right, I'll make the turn. I'll go back down the hill. I waved. I said goodbye. And I think, okay, well, maybe I'll hop in the big chain ring. I'll hop in the 54 so that I can pick up some speed coming down the hill. Guess what? I was already in the 54. And I climbed the hill in the biggest chain ring I had. And I knew I would share that with you guys this morning. Because how many times you think, oh, I couldn't make it in that. But then you get distracted You're busy doing it. You're in the moment, distracted by this instant in all of time, instead of being distracted by our anxieties, our shaming, and like, this instant, right now. I was like, holy cow. I never would have thought I could have climbed that hill in the 54. What examples do you have like that? Where deep in your core, in that moment, you just proved you had everything it took to come out on top. That's why I knew I would share that story with you all this morning. Because one, I say all the time, if I go out for a bike ride this morning after the show, I'll go out for a run. If I go out to get some exercise in, I do it always with the thought of seeing how many people I can say hello to, how many people I can pass on the bike, either coming up behind them or people coming the opposite direction. When I bike or run, how many people I can say good morning to. Now, in fairness, obviously I enjoy saying good morning, but I also love seeing how it just flips people out. People, they're just, oh, yeah, right, good morning, back at you, how are you, brother? Or whatever they come up with. They're just stunned that someone else would want to be cordial to them. And I know the young lady yesterday, God, I love her that she still got her driver's license. Good golly. I know she was stunned when I pulled up alongside and waved, said have a good day. Had to be stunned. So for me, I like going out every day, letting people know I'm thinking about them. Letting them know that there's no reason. I was on the path the other day. Was out running. And there was another runner, probably my age. He's a little better shape than I'm in. Which doesn't take much. A little better shape than I'm in. Black guy. He's running right towards me. I stick up my left hand. He sticks up his left hand. Gives me a high five. We smile. We keep running. And it made me think if we could do that to each other more often. We don't get our shorts in a bunch over the pigment. Don't get our shorts in a bunch over what someone else believes. And we just get each other a high five. Good on you. Way to go. It was a hot morning, too. It was like 90 degrees, 10,000% humidity. But he was out doing it just like I was. I've seen this video on the internet. Another black guy running around giving people hugs. It's like a bajillion hits. And that's what I like to do in the morning. I'm not going to stop. I'm a little sweaty, and I don't suggest if you're out running that it's the best thing to pull over and hug another human being. Well, you can give them a high five. You can say good morning. You can smile. You can say great job. Nice shorts, right? You can do something to put a smile on their face. And I got to be honest, every time I do it, and it still catches me off guard, every time I do it, I get a smile on my face. And I want to say to you, it's because I made another human being feel appreciated or feel happy. But I'm not certain that's it. I think the smile comes because it's a subconscious realization that I and the other are one. That at our core, we're all everything it takes to come out on top. Outside of all the division, outside of all the fighting, outside of all the different things you see going on in the news, here's a sweaty black guy and a sweaty white guy giving each other a high five, going by, both smiling, going, what are we, crazy? Have you seen the humidity out here? Who could you high five today? Could you high five yourself? Could you dovetail your head and your heart? Could you get off your own back? Could you be your own best friend, your own biggest fan? That's why I love saying, I'm on your side even when you're not. Even in those moments, because everyone has doubt. Everyone wonders, worries. But I know that deep in your core, you are everything it takes to come out on top. Even when you forget, that's my gig. I'm here to remind you. Simple. I love it. It's a great run at life for me. But I'm here to remind you of your hidden face. Not the facade, not the scaffolding, not the things that can be touched by anxiousness, by stress, by fear, by shame, by embarrassment, by ridicule, blah, blah, blah. If you feel any of those things throughout today, here's my thought. Stop living a lie. If you really are in the point where sticks and stones and words of another person can hurt you, you're living a lie. Why? Why be unhappy? Why be discontent? Because you're discontent if you're disconnected, I can tell you that much. But when you remember who you are, spend a couple minutes in the mirror, take a look at your own eyes. Let me ask you a question. If you, and for me at my age, I got to wear my glasses sometimes to do it, but could you sketch what your eye looks like? And just to say, I have brown eyes. I happen to have blue eyes. Could you sketch what your eye... Have you ever taken the time to look in your own eyes long enough? Could you pick your own eyes out of a photo lineup? If I gave you 4 sets of green eyes, let's say you have green eyes, could you pick yours out? Maybe that's a good goal. Maybe that's a carrot you could have at the end of your stick if you like. Oh, well, carrots, they say, are good for your eyesight. Do that. Spend a couple minutes in the mirror. Make sure you can pick your eyes out of a lineup if you had to. You're going to leave that experience. One of 2 things. Saying, Brian's absolutely crazy. Thank you very much. It's always nice to meet a fan. Brian's absolutely crazy. Or, I did come out of that with a smile on my face. No shame, no guilt, no anxiety, no worries, nothing like that. And then I said to start the show that I couldn't imagine. And let me just thank everyone for the text this morning. I wouldn't know how to start the show. And I find myself in the same position at the end of the show. Thinking about the world that we live in. What can you and I do with people being murdered every day by these walking psychopaths, these estrangements gone overboard? We remind them that we're all connected. We're not gonna be defeated. That we are one big family, that we do have dirt in our DNA, that we are on this globe, this bowling ball spinning around. We're on it together. And if you and I start to do that and we lead by example, I'm hoping that the guy I passed the other day or any of the other people I pass in the mornings, they turn around and say thank you to someone else. They go, wow, you know what? That did feel kind of good. He didn't seem that nuts. He didn't seem that crazy. I mean, it's a brief encounter, right? They'd have no clue whether I'm nuts or not. Who could you give a high five to today? Because that's how you and I are going to defeat this. Who could you hug today? Who could you smile at today? Who could you open a door for? Who could you say good morning to? And if you don't want to do it for that person, do it for yourself. You want to be selfish? Be selfish in that way. And I promise you're going to be stunned. You're going to see a smile coming from your face. Oh, last thing. And then I know we're coming up on time. Sorry, but so I'll get out of here so I'm not messing up the next show queued up is. But I love doing this. You pull up at a stop sign. If there's any question, I like letting the other person go first. Why? Because I see that freaked out look on their faces. They go, wait a minute. Someone's letting me go first? Or you go to hold a door for someone. And unless they're a raging feminist, because I've actually been attacked before. Oh, which reminds me, I want to tell you this joke about a skirt on Monday. But a feminist goes, I don't need some guy getting my door. So I said, okay. Walked in front of her, pulled the door shut. What are you going to do? Outside of that, I promise you, they're going to smile. You're going to smile. And if nothing else, you get to derail this sense of everyone think they're in it for themselves. That's how you and I are going to start to beat back all these estrangements gone overboard, all these people so disconnected that they have a depraved indifference from human life. All right, I'm going to go. Let me do this. We'll cue this up, and have a fantastic weekend wherever you're listening, however you got here. Don't forget, allnaturalbeing.com. Send me an email. I'll send you one back. We'll hook up that way, and just have a fantastic day. Be your own best friend. Be your own biggest fan. Give a complete stranger a high five. And then drop me a note. Drop me a text. Let me know how it worked out. I promise you're going to smile like you wouldn't believe it. All right. Have a fantastic weekend, my friend.
All Natural Being. You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
IPMNation.com.